Thank you, Dirk. Yes, indeed, I'm very happy to present this very presentation. So myself and with Bianca, okay, over there. So I'm presenting, but it is a common work, and you will see there are a lot of people involved. Even before I start, I would like to say that I'm very happy of this very presentation because I think that I'm going to present you. It is the first time this kind of operation, this kind of project is happening in coffee. And I think it is the first time ever it is happening in at least a tropical crop, what I'm going to present to you. So I'm very happy to present you, and I'm very happy that it is presented here at the ICC. So you all know, so my presentation will be divided in two, in fact. I will give you the background and why we did this project of genetic coffee discovery, and the second part will be about the results. So we already discussed yesterday, you all know that Arabica coffee genetic really matters because of the influence on cup quality, because on the influence on the resistance to diseases, mainly coffee leaf rust, and also because of the adaptation to the climate change. There are quite a lot of Arabica cultivars. So here, this is the wheel that my company produced. It is freely available you've got the QR code. It is not downloadable and not interactive on a smartphone, unfortunately. It is only available interaction on PC. But as you can see, the different colors are different genetic groups. And you can not count, but there is a lot of different coffee cultivars. If we look from an historical perspective, starting in the 18th century, in fact, for a very long time, in coffee, there was almost only one cultivar, which was Typica. Then Bourbon replaced Typica, and in the very recent years, at the scale of history, you have some new cultivars, the SL cultivars, but now the Timor hybrid derivative, Ethiopian landrace coming in very lately, F1 hybrids coming very lately. So now we have more and more available cultivars. This slide is a slide that I took from a study that I did for the Alliance for Coffee Excellence, for the Cup of Excellence, in fact, looking at what were the cultivars that were presented to the Cup of Excellence since 2007 to 2017, at that time. Again, you have the QR code to see the webinars with a lot of results on this study. And you can see that really, in the recent years, in the Cup of Excellence, you have less and less of the Typica Bourbon cultivars, the genetic group Typica Bourbon, and more are Timor hybrid derivatives, Catimors, Sarchimors, and really more and more Ethiopian land races, Geisha, Cheroso, Sidra, East African, F1 hybrids coming just a little bit, and yellow, which is to say all the yellow Bourbon, yellow Caturra, all those were more and more presented to the Cup of Excellence. When I'm talking about importance for high cup quality, when I was doing this study for the Cup of Excellence, I also had access to the database on the highest bid, the winning bid on auctions. So this is to tell you there is money on the table. In the horizontal axis of this graph, you've got the SAA score. Okay? That's the highest the score, the highest the quality. And you've got on the vertical axis the amount in dollars of the winning bid. So you can see how exponential it becomes when you reach the highest score. we could see from the database, so it is statistically very robust, that when you have geisha, on average you have 2.14 points increase in the SAA score. So you can easily see that if you go from a score of 90 to a score of 92 or 94, you can see the impact on the price. So really we are talking about very significant matter for the growers. So it is really important to trust the cultivars. When cultivars means money, it is really important to know what is the cultivar and can you trust the sources of seeds to get the right cultivars? The answer is no. In fact, we had a first study in 2020, and we showed that only 39% of randomly checked geisha were geisha, meaning that 61% were not conform. A recent study by WCR in 24 showed that on seed lots, only 26% of seed lots were genetically conform, meaning that the remaining part, 74%, were not genetically conform. So there is a problem. So the only way to see if you can trust or not trust is to do some DNA fingerprinting. So my company, we're not the only one, but we are doing some DNA fingerprinting. We are using SSR markers, microsatellites, which are the same kind of markers for human forensic when criminology to find the criminals. It is the same kind of marker. It's got a very high discrimination power. We have a very large reference database, and we have experience in interpretation, which is important because it is not that simple in the coffee sector. We have several peer-reviewed papers using this technique. So we went to say, okay, let's go for this coffee genetic discovery, the democratization, in fact, of genetic information for farmers. That was the two objectives, democratization, and then maybe find other data and guidelines for the coffee sector. Who had the first ID? It is written here. It is when I was discussing with Stéphane, like 6 or 8 months ago. Yes, Stéphane, you had the first idea. You tell me, but Christophe, why don't we do that? And that, I was a little bit jealous, in fact, that I didn't have this idea first. So, but we executed that, and we had Lavazza very kindly was supporting this operation. So what was it about? We had an announcement. The farmers, there was some announcement through emails, social networks, and farmers could register to be part of the operation. And then we had the prize draw, which was 100 winners. And those 100 winners sent samples. We did the DNA fingerprinting. We sent out the results to the winner recently. It was just the end of September. So this is what it looks like. You had so it was anonymous. Here, the results are anonymized, of course, but each winner received a personalized result. And we are now at the ICC 24, and we are presenting the results of this operation. So we had the registration from 24 countries, which was really amazing, from all the continents, as you can see. So I will not go through all of them. So 24 countries was really interesting. One that was not, we had no participant from Brazil, maybe because in Brazil they have no problems, in fact, with the varieties. I don't know. That was surprising, but that's a fact. If we look at the origins in details, we had 50% of Central America and Mexico, which might be related to the importance of cup quality on one side and on coffee leaf rust, also, resistance. We had a lot, 1/4 from Asia, and then Africa and South America in that order. And then if we look down to countries, that was really interesting, really amazing. We had a lot of Nicaragua. I have my idea why Nicaragua. I think in Nicaragua there has been a lot of breeding progress of new varieties recently, the F1 hybrids and everything in Nicaragua. Honduras, there was a lot in Honduras also, maybe because they are also looking after quality, and also coffee leaf frost is a serious issue, and there are some new varieties, recent varieties in Honduras like Paranaima, Lempira, which are very important. And my big surprise was Taiwan. Yes, Taiwan. Why 11% of participation of Taiwan? Why? So if I would like to think that it was because last year I was invited to give a presentation in Taiwan, so I don't know if that matters, but I don't think so. I think that what is really interesting in Taiwan is that there is a lot of enthusiasm for coffee growing, and they are all going for geisha or Ethiopian landraces. So the genetic conformity of what they are growing is really important for quality. And then we had other different countries, as you can see. When the winners, when they sent the samples, they were asked, have you got an ID of the sample you are sending, or you've got no ID? So 27% had no ID of what it was, and 73% had an ID. Of those 73% that had an ID, they were supposing that it was either Typica, Bourbon, or related, like Catuai, Catura, etc. There was close to 30%. They supposed it was an Ethiopian landrace. So I put it together, but sometimes it was geisha, of course, sometimes it was chiroso, sometimes it was sidra. There was some intergroup, what I call intergroup, the F1 hybrids, and some Yemeni landraces. We had some participation from Yemeni. And Ethiopian legacy, basically it is a genetic group where you find SL34 and Mibirisi, for example. There is another representation. If you think about the proportion of the cultivars that are used in this world, there was another representation of core Ethiopia, which are the Ethiopian landrace, which of course are related to the challenge of cup quality for farmers. And there was also another representation of the rust-resistant variety, because we think that there's a huge share of sarchimos or catimos that are cultivated, but it is much less than 13% in reality. But there was not that much of Czech or proposed variety related, let's say, to climate smart, which I would say the F1 hybrid, for example, was not really represented.
So here are the results on the percentage of genetic conformity of the samples that were sent for analysis. Of course, here we are talking only of those samples for which the farmer had an idea of what was the variety. So please first look at the top of the slide, the first bar, which shows that overall there was 64% of genetic conformity, meaning that 64% of the samples were actually what they were supposed to be from a genetic point of view. 36% were not conform, and this is still too much about the lack of genetic conformity. 36% of the farmers thought they had a variety which it was not. So you can look at the different percentage for different genetic groups of varieties, but maybe let's focus on the Ethiopians, which is the third bar starting from the bottom. And in this core Ethiopia, which are the Ethiopians in general, you had 85% of genetic conformity, which is rather high, and higher than what was observed in previous studies, where the genetic conformity was no more than 40%. But here we can expect that the farmers that really participated to the genetic discovery were really informed and interested by varieties, which in turn can explain that there were more genetic conformity. In previous studies, the samples were totally random. So it was less because, of course, there were some farmers that were more or less interested in the varieties. If we look at geisha itself, which is, of course, the holy grail when you look at the money on the table that we already discussed, then you had 63% of genetic conformity, which is, again, not bad, better than previous studies, but still not enough. So if we look now at the main takeaways, we would say that, first of all, there was a great interest from producers. That was amazing. There was a lot of questions, a lot of follow-up questions on the results. I mean, that was really rewarding to us, that there was so great enthusiasm. People, they were really excited about knowing more about the varieties and about the genetics that they had in their fields. We could see that cup quality and rust resistance were the main drivers for farmers to check their varieties, meaning that really it is something that matters for them, the cup quality and rust resistance, I would say, because those two have direct, immediate impact on the production and the value of the production. There was not as much concern for, let's say, pure productivity or even climate smart varieties. Really, cup quality, rust resistance. Overall, there was 36% of non-conformity, which is in line with previous result, but it is too much. It is still too much. So we really need to make an effort in the coffee seed sector. We really need to be much more precise on genetic conformity. We cannot afford that farmers are getting seeds from a supposed variety, and at the end of the day, it is not the supposed variety. Interestingly, among all the samples that we received, there were one rare bird with one sample with very rare allele. So I'm talking with the farmer about it, and it will be, of course, his or her decision to know what to do with this variety, because it belongs to him or her. What we need to take into account maybe for further editions is that the participation of roasters and traders to the genetic discovery was less than expected. I really thought that roasters or traders would be willing to be the intermediate and really organize this sampling for the farmers that are working with. That did not really happen. So maybe it was communication. Maybe we need to be more focused on that side for further editions. One thing that is detailed but very important to take into account is that we did not anticipate that the shipment cost would be a barrier, or at least a difficulty for the farmers. I mean, we really focused on sponsoring the genetic analysis, but in next edition we need either to sponsor also the shipment and or to be better organized in gathering some samples from the same country, for example, to be sent for analysis. In that, in the continuity of the former comment, maybe in further editions we should be focusing on one country or one region. Maybe it would be more, it would be easier, and we could then involve more traders or more roasters that are specifically interested in this in a chosen regions. But anyway, I would like really to end this presentation with thanking so much all the farmers that played the game and that participated to the draw for the genetic discovery, and then the ones that won the draw. I want to thank them because that was really rewarding again to see the enthusiasm and the interest of those farmers about genetics, and we were so happy to be conveying more information to them. They need them and they deserve to be sure of the kind of varieties they are producing. So thanks again. Thanks to Lavazza, thanks to ICC, and thanks again to all the farmers that participated to this genetic discovery. Thank you.